go ahead and I think we have Manuel coming on right now, and we're going to turn it over to him as soon as he comes full on. And give us an overview of his new collaboration with AARP. So Manuel, we'll turn it over to you. We are recording this, and I'll ask everyone if they would please mute themselves to give our speaker full attention.
Perfect. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming and participating in this webinar. I prepared a presentation, and I have some slides to give you a little bit of context about, different events that happened and about AARP and stuff like that. But I'd really be interested in having this session as an interactive session. I certainly have a lot of respect and admiration for the experience and professional experience of many of the people that are here in this room that have seen more things that I do, and I just exploring this collaboration with AARP. But I have a lot to learn, and I'm hoping to learn from you too. So I'll be expressing some opinions of how I see things. I can be wrong many times, so please feel free to raise your electronic hand and express your opinion. This is really a two-way conversation. That being said, I'm going to start sharing my screen and then start showing the discussion. Also, before I get started, I also wanted to thank the Village to Village Network for the opportunity to do this webinar together. It was a little bit rushed because the program with AARP started 2 weeks ago, and everything's going super fast. So it's great that we can do this. And I would start with this slide that maybe you have seen. Basically, this is an announcement that we did. AARP announced the participation of Helpful Village in the AARP AgeTech collaborative on September 25th. We did the same. There is a Helpful Village message that was sent out on September 29th, explaining basically our customers and village community at large what this is about. These two paragraphs are from that message, so you may have read this before. Basically, AARP is backing several tech companies that you can see on that screen, Helpful Village being one of them, and this is what they provide: expert consultations, growth strategies, specialized design insights, among other exclusive opportunities. And basically, AARP AgeTech Collaborative mission is to fuel the growth and advance AgeTech innovation at large. So this is basically the beginning of the story. And basically here, as I was saying, this is more of a discussion to basically help you.
This is Jenny from Village Connections. How are you?
Travis going to manage the mute, but so basically, this is a discussion to ask you to help me basically figure out this collaboration with AARP. And I need to say a few things. First thing that I would say is that I am not an AARP employee, and I don't speak for AARP. So obviously, we signed an agreement with AARP, and it made it very clear that they have a lot of lawyers, and they want to make sure that that they have total control of their brand, etc. So I wanted to have this light right here, so that at no moment in time I'm speaking for AARP here, but I am collaborating with them. We signed an agreement with them. What I'm trying to do here is basically speculate or kind of try to figure out what is AARP doing and why are they doing that. But that is just my personal opinion. And then I think it would be the same for all the other participants in this meeting. So obviously, it's just, kind of legal disclaimer. I am not intending that I'm speaking for AARP or telling you what AARP thinks. It's what in my opinion, AARP may be doing. So this is a set of facts, I think, that we all know and share, but I thought at the beginning of the discussion, AARP is the largest U.S. advocacy group for older adults on multiple levels, at the federal level with Congress, state, and local. So they're very present in the governor's office and, mayors and all those things. Is one of the things they do. They do many things. AARP has several branches, including policy, like as we said here. They have an AARP foundation that is focusing on low-income people. They have a business branch. They have all these other things. The branch that we're working with, is the AgeTech Collaborative, which is a part of a department that is called Enterprise Innovation, and is a department that reports directly to the AARP CEO. This is what I asked them, what they reported me to do. This is also facts, because it's basically a press release on their website. AARP has shown a growing interest in technology. This is a print screen I took from their website. AARP and the AgeTech, which is basically the group I'm working with, took center stage at the CES 2023. If you don't know CES, this is the largest electronics conference that takes place every year in Las Vegas, not only for older adults, it's technology for everything. But AARP and the AARP CEO, Joanne Jenkins, wanted to be there, and they were there with the former AOL CEO, Olympic medalists, etc. So they had a stand there, and they made it very clear that AARP wants to play a role in the technology space. Why would they? I would say that traditionally, the older adults has been a space that has been under-equipped in technology. There was for quite some time some stigma about older adults not liking technology, but it's also pretty obvious that that was the case maybe before, but this is rapidly changing. The numbers and figures are showing that a growing number of older adults are getting smarter with technology and more capable. And then basically technology starts playing a key role in the lives of many older adults. There is also a generational aspect. I was born professionally pretty much at the same time as the internet was becoming public. So many older adults, maybe 20 years ago, only had a limited exposure to the internet. But the 10,000 seniors that retire every day, they have had probably a much bigger exposure to the internet. They were using it in their jobs, in their office, for their online banking, for many other things. So basically now, just every older adult that is retiring has seen more technology than what happened before. And obviously AARP wants to be in this space too. There is a precise example I wanted to discuss here. AARP has made many investments in the technology space. There is one here that I wanted to highlight, but I also, again, I'm sorry, I need to speak about these legal liabilities and things. So I'm mentioning Senior Planet because it's a program from AARP. So this is their official logo. And obviously, again, I'm not a Senior Planet employee. I'm not an AARP employee. We are not using their logo here to represent anything. The only thing is this is just a mention of an AARP project that started in somewhat similar fashion as Helpful Village did. So basically, Senior Planet was a startup at one point in time. The goal of this company, if you have not heard of it, is that they thought that older adults across America, they didn't have enough training in technology. And basically this company specialized in providing tech training to older adults. So with training centers in New York City, I know the Palo Alto Senior Center, where we also have a village. Basically they have a Senior Planet room, etc. It's basically just tech training for older adults. They started growing, they started having more and more users, and at one point AARP, for their own reasons that I don't precisely know, they decided that this was interesting and that AARP wanted to be present in this space. For some reason, AARP thought AARP had a role to play in tech training for seniors, so they acquired basically Senior Planet, and now this is their logo today, Senior Planet from AARP. Now, another clarification, AARP has not acquired Helpful Village. They don't have any participation, stake, or stock in Helpful Village, but also is a multi-step process. Where we're at right now is that they invited us to participate in this collaborative where they're giving us free resources, which are really great. We have meetings with them. We are having about between 3 and 5 meetings with AARP employees every week. And we are very thankful for everything that they're giving us. What I understand is that it's a fabulous first step to work with a company, right? I think it's super smart, right? Before having any conversation, discussion, or even idea in investing on a tech company like ours, it's much better basically to start working with us, right? With an initiative like this, where basically the companies get tested. They can see if the company is effective, if they can deliver, if they can stay focused, if they understand what they're doing, etc. And then basically they are also learning through this. I mean, they are learning about Healthful Village through this process, and this is super smart. What we hear is that first step is an 8-week program. When the 8-week program ends, there will be a new phase that starts, but they're not super precise about what the second phase would be. And that also makes perfect sense because not all companies will be in the second phase in the same way. Maybe some will drop in the first phase, maybe some will continue in a different fashion, but there is a second phase. And if we do well, we have an opportunity to do more things in the future with them. Okay, what is AARP interested in? Again, I don't know, I cannot speak for them, but this is what I observe, what I think they may be interested in. And I would say 2 things. AARP is interested in technology. I think we can affirm this because the press release and the actions that I showed before show this. They are paying employees to help me, so us, a Helpful Village. So that shows interest because they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're also interested in age-friendly cities and livable communities, right? So this is something they spoke about during the conference. This is something that is maybe more connected to their work that they do in the policy space. But I wanted to have a brief discussion about this because maybe these 2 things connect at one point. This is also from their AARP material that is, copyrighted, etc. Just mentioning it here. You can find it online. It's a public document. So you can go to their website and download it. But basically, AARP has a network of age-friendly cities, age-friendly states and communities. And then basically what AARP is trying to do is to help communities, kind of these states, cities, and towns, all these numbers you see on the right, to have them make plans and take action. So this comes from some work that was done originally by the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization, depending on the United Nations, realizing that, basically our world is aging, that there is more and more older adults. The number we use in the United States, that in 25 years, we're going to have double the number of seniors in our society. So basically, the United Nations and the World Health Organization obviously started thinking, well, how can we change the world so that it's more age-friendly and more adapted to the population as it is changing, right? So the World Health Organization starts that initially with some researchers. We have some friends at Portland State University that was the first city in the US that was part of that plan. And then basically that translated into some recommendations. And basically AARP now is kind of the operational branch of that effort. So basically now they go out to all these territories and try to invite them to make plans to become more age-friendly. There are 8 domains of age-friendliness, basically, and this is also coming from the research of the World Health Organization. And this is a diagram also from AARP. So again, I'm giving them full credit and ownership of this diagram, but this is also a public diagram you can find on their website. Essentially, they are saying, the researchers and the World Health Organization was saying, well, cities would be more age-friendly if we focus on these 8 areas. So there are 3 that are the built environment on top, right? Would be housing. There needs to be affordable housing for older adults if they can live in their own house. Not only affordable, but also equipped, right? So we need houses that are accessible with ramps, grab bars, and everything that is needed for an older adult that may be in a wheelchair for some reason. Outdoor spaces and buildings and transportation. It's kind of funny because those 3 are the areas where villages would be less active, maybe. And it's not true because, as you know, villages are very active for transportation, right? So the interesting thing is that villages are actually very active in many of these domains, in particular, everything that is at the bottom, the 5 domains that are in the social environment, obviously because villages are social groups, right? Like we do a little bit of all of this, right? We do health services and community support. We do social participation, obviously, respect and social inclusion, obviously, communication and information, obviously, and civic participation and employment, obviously, and transportation, obviously, also. So it's kind of interesting how villages are naturally a good fit for age-friendly cities, and it's not a surprise. It's like we're asking older adults in villages what is it that they would like for their towns, cities, and communities, and similar things. AARP came up with an AARP livability index, which is actually scoring all the different cities and towns. If you go online, if you go to livabilityindex.aarp.org, you can search for different cities. In this particular case, I searched California, and each city gets basically a rate or something, which is a compounded index based on grades for each one of these domains, right? So the availability of public transportation, the number of hospitals, and it's a complicated formula. But basically, there's a connection between, okay, you kind of these cities want to be more age-friendly, these 8 domains, and then basically AARP is kind of measure like a little bit like a statistician, how good each city is rating, and inviting people to go to more livability, kind of increase these things with different actions. So basically cities, counties, and states, they try to set up plans where basically they make changes to better their grade. These are another interesting aspect is that basically there is local plans to build age-friendly cities. AARP is inviting people to do so. And then it's also recognizing the efforts that are done in that aspect. And then when they are recognized, you can get a recognition and become an age-friendly community. You can become an age-friendly state. You can become an age-friendly city. And I know what I'm saying is very familiar to you because a lot of villages are in age-friendly cities. But basically part of the discussion here is that this is basically a bipartisan effort, right? You have politicians from the left, politicians from the right. Obviously, you recognize state of Florida, Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis on the right, and then many other, Democratic representatives. I think the left is New York, and then Massachusetts, and basically everyone wants to become age-friendly because we all want to take good care of our communities, and also maybe because older adults apparently are very active voters, much more so than younger people. So it's good for them to do that. And obviously AARP plays a role here because they have a very serious mission in advocacy, and this is being close to local, state, and federal power. And then it's no surprise that basically AARP is having this conversation with them. So these have nothing to do with me, but it's just discussing about what they're doing. Now, coming back to why does this matter to us? I think that there is an interesting connection that we can draw here, is that the beginning is that AARP is helping cities to build these plans and then offer this recognition. But sometimes these plans can be, in the worst case scenario, a little bit disconnected from reality, right? Like, okay, what needs to be done for age-friendly cities in 20 years? You're like, well, I don't know, in 20 years, a lot of things can happen. Humans are not very good about thinking the future. How can we plan in 20 years? In my opinion, it's much better to design a plan of what do the older adults need today, right? And then also project into the future, but you cannot disconnect about what's happening today. And what's interesting to me is that villages are the experts in what older adults need today, because we are basically doing that for those older adults, but there is an obvious connection with what will our older adults need in the future. So there is a connection already that exists between villages and age-friendly communities. Many village leaders have participated in their cities' age-friendly plans. Villages are age-friendly initiatives supported by the mayor or the governor or whatever to support in their own plans, and this is already happening. There is a discussion that could be had here about, well, basically the age-friendly plans sometimes are a little bit aspirational. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had twice as many parks? Yeah, it would be wonderful. Are we doing it? Maybe sometime in the future. I don't know when can we do that. But for me, villages are the best expression of the present. And I had someone, and I'm quoting someone because I didn't come up with this, but I think it's a brilliant sentence, is villages are age-friendly cities in action. It's like, we're making that happen today. We know what people want today, and then sometimes we know what they want in the future. So if we connect the aspirational aspect of the age-friendly plans with the let's make it happen, then we can connect villages with the age-friendly city plans, in my opinion, but we can, differ. This is also, as I was saying, some of the things that are happening today. Obviously, there is a mention of age-friendly cities. The head of age-friendly DC is a former executive director of Capitol Hill Village. Same thing in Columbus on the right, where basically head of age-friendly Columbus is also a former executive director of one of the villages in Columbus, Ohio. And then now these two communities are supporting villages as age-friendly initiatives in their corresponding cities. In the middle, that's Palo Alto, because it's also interesting to see that the city of Palo Alto is involved through their senior center, basically the Avenida Senior Center, that has a village program called Avenidas Village. And all these villages, right, are using data to obtain public funding, which is another key aspect for me, is that I love, obviously, the village concept, because that's what I do 100% of my time. But it is something that is also a little bit confusing to me. I think that sometimes a lot of the villages tend to do a lot on their private funding or self-funding. And I believe the mission that they're doing are so important in building community that the funding for villages should also come from other sources, as it is the case here in Washington, D.C., probably in Columbus. There should be public funding to help you do your work. I have a segue here to say that, as you know, the village movement is the largest and most celebrated aging in place model out there. There have been, dozens or hundreds of articles in the best newspapers. These are 3 New York Times articles at different times that have come out regularly. And I wanted to do a parallel here that is interesting also, is strength in numbers. This, I think, is our biggest strength, right? When we're talking with different counterparts or AARP, is that, in my mind, if there were, because there are not at this point, we have several tens of thousands villagers, but if there were 250,000 villagers or 1 million villagers in the nation, could AARP not be part of it? Could we imagine a country where there is 1 million people in the village movement and AARP not playing a significant role in it? My personal opinion, and then I'm looking forward to hearing from you too, is that could not happen. That's maybe one of the reasons why AARP is getting involved or talking with us, etc., is that they realize that, well, there is a large number of people involved with the village movement, and they have a role to play that, it's for them to choose what it is. And now, if we all agree on the fact that, yeah, they will probably want to be part of it, well, then what could they be doing? What should their role be in this aspect? I don't know exactly. So this is also part of the discussion. One of the things that seemed interesting to me is that AARP has a great infrastructure and a distribution channel. They could help create more villages and accelerate their growth with several things. One of them is money, right? It's an organization that is well funded, and then they could provide maybe some startup money, right? If they want to help villages get started in different places, maybe they can. I know they're sponsors of some local villages already. I know several villages in the nation that receive money already from AARP. And maybe we can make this more systematic. There is maybe other channels, maybe AARP, when they are inviting cities to do their age-friendly city plans, maybe they should suggest that, villages is a very common and preferred and recommended age-friendly initiative that people would probably want to consider. So in just a few sentences, I think AARP can be helpful to build capacity faster. We have maybe 250 villages nationwide in the village movement. I think, it's not too risky to say that if AARP got more involved, we could see this number of villages rapidly growing to, I don't know, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 villages across the country. Now, what are we working on? And then, I have, I think, 2 more slides, and then we can open up the discussion. So as I said, we're meeting with them. And, the people we're talking to is essentially business people at AARP, right? So we have a normal business conversation with them. They think our technology is interesting. They think their space is interesting. But obviously, we start with a very essential business question of what is the village's market segment, right? It's like, who is Helpful Village selling to? How big is that market, and how has it grown is some questions that are obviously being asked. How can the village movement grow more? If we say that we have 250 villages, AARP may be interested in fueling this growth, but they're going to be asking us, well, in your opinion, how do you think we can make this go faster? If we got a check, right? And where do we put that check? And how can that check guarantee that there will be many more villages and many more successful villages? So in order to figure all this out, there's many questions they're asking us, like who is starting villages? You see what I'm saying? In the most romantic concept of the village movement is basically a group of neighbors, right, that got together and thought, well, I think this is a much needed aging model that is missing. Let's build community, let's do this. But in some cases, it's not just neighbors. Sometimes it's the city, as I said before, in Palo Alto, it's the city of Palo Alto through the senior center. We have another senior center in Vashon. We have another senior center in Laguna Beach, California. So there is a number of senior centers starting things. There is a number of city planners that are thinking about creating villages. So we really need to get back to AARP, trying to explain them, well, this is actually what we observe. This is actually how the space is evolving, and this is actually what is happening. And then why do they, right? What is their motivation to create new villages? The motivation for a village founder that is a neighbor is probably not the same motivation, or not the exact same motivation as a senior center that is starting a village. But basically, we need to document this and basically make a business case that is more understandable for AARPs. So for AARP to make business decisions if they want to put money in the space or not. Another similar question, and there are many questions actually. I have more questions than answers, really. It's like, why do villages join a village? Well, obviously I have a general idea. I got interested in the village movement because my mom needed a village. I know what were the particular needs my mom had. I have discussed with many village leaders throughout the years. I have had reports. I know we have an excellent village in California, Lafayette Moraga Orinda, is La Morinda village. They had a great village leader interviewing with potential members. And I know how some of those members are motivated to join, and also why sometimes they are not. There is this syndrome of the not ready yet syndrome, which is like, oh, I like the concept, but somehow I can still fight to do this by myself alone, right? And then I will only sign up for a village when there is no other option. Well, maybe I don't think that's a very good idea. We need to find a good way to convince those people to join a village before they really need it. What is the answer? Or what are the answers? Many times, as I said, Helpful Village may have an idea. We don't necessarily have the answer. You see what I'm saying? It's like, I'm an entrepreneur. I work hard. I try to get a lot of things done. I'm also a college. I teach at college level, aging in communities. I'm some sort of a expert in the space now. But we need to keep studying the topic and understanding, and being also humble about how these things work. So basically, the first thing to know is that I know I will not have the answers myself. So what Helpful Village is trying to do is collaborate with, or invite to collaborate with the Village to Village Network, with the Village Movement California, with WAVE, and essentially with the village community at large, and with all of you individually, to figure out those answers, right? Because those answers are in many different ways. There are easy questions and there are harder questions. One of the easy questions is the number of villages. We kind of have an estimate of that number of villages, but maybe we can dig a little deeper, right? And then basically we can draw basically the growth curve of those villages. Has the growth of villages plateaued, right? Which basically we could imagine that there was 200 villages 10 years ago, and then we only grow by a few now. Or is it the opposite? Like 10 years ago, maybe we had 20 villages and now we have 200, we are on exponential growth. All those things are things that are, basically required by these business people we're talking at AARP, and we need to show some of this data to help them understand and also to build our credibility. So obviously in this case, the total number of villages is something that we don't have. And then we, basically want to work with these different organizations to try to figure out what would be the answer for this question. More things we're working on. So basically in the whole, kind of a good summary is basically where we're trying to think about what AARP is in the game for, right? And then, in my view, one good way to analyze this is saying, well, AARP has financial means and interest. They purchased Senior Planet. They put money on the table. They're putting also money on individual villages. They're sponsoring the California conference, but also the national conference, etc. So they have money to put into the system. I think we have a great opportunity to try to figure out what is the best way to invest their money. How can we tell them, well, let's be more systematic. Maybe you should give $1,000 to each new village that starts, or maybe $1,000 each year to all the existing villages, or maybe do something else. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's great to, throughout this program, try to figure out what is the best case, how can we convince AARP to become more involved. Another thing that AARP is doing is that they are helping us find financial resources for villages. So in my view, there is a chance that AARP invests their own money to become present or a bigger sponsor of in the village space. Their choice, obviously, but it's a possibility. Another thing we're working on with them is about finding additional financial resources for villages. One obvious example was this is a conversation I had with an AARP person, is there are other services out there, even some other tech companies. These are tech companies, it's called Papa, again, trademark it. I'm not a Papa representative, etc. But this is a print screen from their website. So Papa is a service where basically a little bit like Uber, you can use an app to request basically a person that comes to your house for different things. It can be companionship, play chess, or care service, but it's more like Uber based. So basically you make a request and then, okay, maybe a college kid is gonna come and then you pay this person $20 an hour for that companionship, right? So it's kind of a lot more transactional. What we do in the village movement, there are services, obviously, and volunteer services, even vendor services, right? With the Beacon Hill model, sometimes we were connecting members with professional vendors, but also there is a community aspect that is much stronger, right? Sometimes we have a volunteer that is coming to help the member, and they are not getting paid, but just because they like their village and they want to support their community. But in a way, why is Medicare Advantage plans? Why is Medicaid? Why are health plans funding, the college kid that goes to see an older adult for the money? And why are villages not getting similar funding when we have a good neighbor, right? That with all their heart are visiting another member to help them also with companionship, with rights, and these other things. I believe there is an opportunity for health plans to provide financial means to villages, right? And we don't know enough about this space, right? They were basically, AARP was pushing me to become more knowledgeable about the healthcare space, which is not naturally a space I'm coming from, but I accepted. I said, well, this is an area where I need to become more, just know more about how the system works. And if there is a chance to get funding from health plan for villages, is a good news for the villages, right? Because you could receive funding for the volunteer services your volunteers are giving. And then obviously good news for Healthful Village, because we want to have, more successful villages means a more successful Healthful Village. Okay, as I said before, there are many questions open, right? About why, what motivates village founders to start a village? What motivates a villager to join a village, right? Is it to make friends? Is it because they're interested in the calendar of events? Is it because they're interested in the services? Maybe they're interested in transportation. And obviously those motivations are not the same for each member. But even if the motivation is not the same for every member, maybe there is some information out there we could collect, right? Maybe one way to do this, and this is just a maybe, because this doesn't exist at this point, but it's just, I'm getting to the end of my presentation where I'm thinking about, well, how do we do this? Maybe we should run a survey asking village founders, why did they start a village? So, and I don't have the answer. Maybe we can do this, and I'm about to, open up the discussion here. I think I have one more slide. besides that one, but basically keep this question for the for the next conversation about the survey as a possible channel. So I don't know exactly what's the best way to get the answers. All I know, right, is that we want to be open and inclusive about this process. So, when we were informed about joining the AARP collaborative, we immediately informed the main, village actors and told them that we were in this. We are very open about the fact that these questions are being asked to us, that we don't have the answers, and that we are trying to build bridges and build collaboration to basically find those answers together. So your input is key to help us figure it out, starting today, because basically I'm looking forward to starting the conversation in about 2 seconds. This is the exact same thing I said. We invited V2V and the regional village associations. All village leaders are invited to participate, so this is a totally open process. Last thing, this was really my last slide. After this, we're going to open the discussion, but I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your feedback and comments and interest. There is a discussion we can have today on Zoom, but I know there will be more questions. So basically there is an email address that I'm leaving here. You can, send us an email anytime. And I'm about to open up the session to hear from you, your comments, also your questions. So any questions you may have, or even if you think that there are threats or good reasons for not working with AARP, I'm open to any kind of discussion. We can definitely do that. Maybe before I open the table for discussion, I wanted to say that this collaboration with AARP and the fact that we have these questions and that we need to respond to them connects with other things that have been done in the village space. So basically, we have discussed in the past about data collection. Well, it's pretty obvious, right? With AARP is asking how many villages are there. Well, that's a data point. And probably interested in knowing how many villagers are there, right? How many village members? Well, that is something that we started working on 2 years ago with the taxonomy project with Capitol Hill Village, where we could aggregate these numbers for several villages. So basically, there might be a connection between the fact that a possible collaboration with AARP may need data and with other V2V projects. So before finishing, I would like to, pass the baton to Bill Kincaid, that is in the attendance. So, and Bill, maybe, I'll pass the baton to you. You can express your opinion about this and maybe potentially how this connects with other V2V projects like data collection or research, which is obviously another topic that can be connected. And then when you're finished exposing your point, please feel free to open the conversation more generally to the rest of the room. So if you're okay with it, please please come in and mute yourself and let us know what you think.
Well, I think everyone is interested in growing the number of villages and improving the lives of older Americans. I guess the issue is, how do we go about that? And certainly you've been very helpful, Manuel, with the Village Impact Project in terms of getting some of the descriptive data about how many villages there are, what kind of services we offer, what kind of programs are being offered. Because I think all of those fall into the general category of support for the elderly population and include the social determinants of health, which are, I think, the AARP diagram kind of encompasses those. So it's not just about healthcare; it's about how we interact with each other and how we get involved in our own lives as we age. And villages offer an opportunity for each of us to get involved at a local level, stay engaged, and really take some control over our lives. I know the Village to Village Network Board has been very concerned about village growth. We have 300 villages that are either in existence now or looking to become a village. And the question is always asked, why don't we have 3,000? Why don't we have 30,000? It should be something that spreads across the country. But it takes time to develop that kind of a game plan. And I think what we're doing now in terms of aggregating data and also partnering with the folks at Rutgers to ask some of these larger questions about what do we need to make the world more aware of the village movement, I think is extremely important. And we, at the gathering last week, we kicked off information about that PCORI project and the partners at Rutgers and RAND to start looking at gathering some of this information. So I think there's a number of areas where we could cooperate with AARP. I don't think that we're going to be able to develop a long-term strategic plan in 8 weeks. That's not going to happen. And certainly AARP has been very supportive. I noticed in the chat that Montana has some work going on with the AARP. The AARP has many doors and many windows, and there are many ways to get into the AARP. And they have been helpful with the network and with villages. And I think I saw Gail Cohn on, and she was very instrumental in the age-friendly process here in DC. So there are a lot of people here that I think understand how this process moves forward and how we make the village movement more robust and grow our numbers. I did mention at the gathering last week that the board is concerned about this. Larry Toy, who's one of our board members, is going to look at setting up an ad hoc group to take a look at how we grow the process. And I've been struck with how many different ways there are to become a village. Here in Alexandria or Fairfax, right across the river from us, the village, the city government decided they wanted to start a village. That was part of their social service outreach program, and they actually facilitated the establishment of a village. There are a number of groups where foundations are the key to doing this. They're looking around trying to make the process better. Chambers of commerce are interested in this because they know that their population is aging. They want to make their community more attractive. So there are a number of ways that I think we can look at how we crystallize villages. But setting up a village is labor intensive. You need some funds, you need some cash. You also need a great deal of human capital, some social resources, some people who want to manufacture this process at a grassroots level. And villages are very grassroots. So the issue is, how do we pull all of these pieces together and how do we move forward? And certainly, you know, you're asking the right questions. How do we gather this information? What data do we need? We certainly have our oar in the water now, gathering some of that information. And certainly a healthy discussion on where you all think this is going, I think is critical. So with that, I'll kind of open it up for comments.
Thank you, Bill. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then now is the hardest moment of the webinar because you know, we really want to open up the conversation. So what I would suggest is that if you can, you know, on Zoom, you have a reactions button, and then you have the possibility to raise your electronic hand. And the good thing about it is it makes it easier just to let people in and make their comments, you know, one after the other in the right order. So if you don't find it, you can unmute yourself and make your comment or formulate your question. But if you can use the electronic raise hand, it helps us, you know, do it in a more orderly fashion. So really now, you know, really, this is totally open conversations. If you have any comments, any feelings, any questions, any threats you see, any opportunities you see, or any local stories you have with AARP, please, you know, this is the right time to unmute.
Hey, Manuel.
Yes.
Manuel, it's Jen in Montana. Can you hear me?
Can hear you perfectly. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you? We just started some conversations with AARP at a state level, and it took some doing. They didn't know about the village movement yet. And so I think for a while, they originally kind of thought, what do you want from us? But then, you know, we started reaching out and asking them to help us with resources. And it kind of has organically grown, which is really nice. But I love what Bill was just saying, because we're the first village in Montana, And, we're starting to wonder how we can help it grow across the state too. So I think this is just really great timing. I just wanted to share how we got started. And it was by, involving them in what we're doing instead of just telling them about us, I guess.
Yeah, I love that comment, Jen. And I think you're right. Many times I see that with my students, right? I teach at USC School of Gerontology, and some of the gerontology students don't know about the village movement. So that's that. The part of it is raising awareness. But when you're having your conversation with AARP, maybe some of the things we did today, right, with connecting it with the work that they do with their age-friendly cities or livable communities, you can tell them, hey, well, that's perfect because we're, in good alignment with what you're interested in. Maybe we can help you achieve your own goals. That's how
Exactly. Yeah. But it's been good.
That's great. Thank you, Jen, for the feedback. And then we have electronic hands raising. So this is perfect. Barbara, do you want to unmute and let us know?
Sure, thank you. And Jen, I want to follow up. I know that Gail put something in the chat, but maybe Manuel, some of your conversations with, AARP as you're moving along is what I'm hearing in the audience is it's the state chapters that are more involved in getting the information down to the state is the most important component that AARP can do for us now. And I know that when I ran my village in Northern Virginia for almost 10 years, AARP Virginia State Chapter was super involved. And it did take a lot of knocking on the door. And so the point is to reach out to your state, organizations, because they may not be able to directly fund you, but they might be able to help with, the social media, the publications, they can maybe sponsor an event, but start small, but it does grow. So.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should make a clarification also. So the people we're working on this AARP AgeTech collaborative is a national, section. They are headquarters in DC, but basically they run this operation nationally, and I would even say internationally. Of the 12 companies that are in the program, one of them is in Tokyo, Japan. The other one is in Germany, and the 10 others are in the US. But basically, it's a national operation. But now, obviously, AARP has connections state and local on local level. And I think we should try to fight at all levels. What I mean is that if we get a chance talking with the national people that they should include villages more systematically in their recommendations for age-friendly cities, boom, that will, trickle down to all local communities and state offices. So I think we can do both. We can definitely, be present locally, state office and the local office, and also at the national level, pushing all the way to raise awareness about the movement. Great. Carol, do you want to come in?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. I'm probably stating the obvious, but just thinking back 5 years ago, we celebrate our 5th anniversary as a village this year. We are Beta Sound neighbors on Cape Cod. And, just thinking about how difficult it was, we were very fortunate that 2 women started it and had the idea to start it. And, we're able to really, gather a lot of people in the community to help out. And we were very fortunate, but we see other villages that we are trying to help, get started. And it occurs to me that one of the key things is having a sponsor in your community. One example I saw was a group in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and they were trying to appeal to their Chamber of Commerce or their Rotary group, to get this started. Still no success. And others like Barnstable, I'm not sure if they're on the call or not, but had a really good relationship with their Council on Aging. And so I think without a key sponsor like that, who's already in the community, it just is just going to be very difficult. So AARP coming into the discussion today is, I think one of the key things, and I know the Mass Villages group is trying to come together and has done some things with their local AARP, but, I think banding together like WAVE or, the DC group is another way to maybe get there. So
Yeah, I fully agree 100%. You know, one of the mentions I had on one of my slides, right, is the senior planet, which is obviously not village business, right? But it's kind of quite interesting how, because sometimes we tend to think, okay, wouldn't it be good if AARP sponsors can, but if we think of it of only, well, can they give us their money? It's kind of hard for them, you know, see what I'm saying, to convince them to do that. But what is interesting here, what they did with Senior Planet is like, okay, at one point this became so important and popular and, you know, relevant in the aging space that AARP cannot stay out of it. You see what I'm saying? So I think now maybe we can make better case on saying, well, we want you to be the sponsor, and because you want to be sponsored, but also at the same way, because it would show how AARP, you know, basically is a big supporter of aging in community and supporting neighborhood groups and neighbors helping neighbors, etc. So we need to also to find kind of the value proposition of saying, okay, you know, if you want to have your systematically your effort there, you need to show that you had a key contribution, and maybe that key contribution, as I said, I don't know what it is really, but it could be, can AARP just give through the age-friendly cities, right? Can you give $1,000 for people that are interested in starting a village? Because what is funny is like the village, I'm sure you, in the village committees, I've been participated in some, including in yours. And basically, we have a group of people in the community thinking, planning ahead. You see what I'm saying? We're doing the same age-friendly city planning that is happening in the executive committee of a village. So in a way, for me, it's just about convincing AARP, like, well, the exact same thing you wanted to do, you see what I'm saying? You can take it one step further, right? And not only stop at the planning stage, kind of aspirational or abstract, but go, let's make it real. Is what I'm saying? And making it real is translating that into a village that is a governing body that keeps the plan alive. You see what I'm saying? Now, maybe we can convince them, maybe we can't, but I think we should. So I like your point a lot, and I think that, you know, I agree with you that it's an interesting way to go through that path. Thank you, Carol. That was a great point. We have Carol Paquet that is waiting to unmute and let us know about her comments.
Well, I'm wondering what the quid pro quo is. So AARP wants to have a lot of information about villages. And of course, we want to have a lot of information about villages ourselves. But what is AARP prepared to do? And I know it's pretty early in your program, but I'm still trying to get my head around the fact that you are a technology company, but you're talking about starting or having a conversation with AARP about starting villages. And I know as a company and individually, you've been very active in getting villages started, but it seems to me to be kind of a odd route for AARP to take to explore the possibility of supporting villages. I guess particularly in light of the fact that the network has had many conversations with AARP relative to age-friendly communities and other activities that they're doing. And, you know, shame on me and maybe shame on the other people from V2V that had these conversations, but we could never get them to do anything. So what do you hope to get out of AARP for the village movement in general?
So first, thank you for your point. I think there's absolutely no shame to have for anything that has been done. You know, sometimes, you know, a collaboration takes time before it's set up correctly, and then many discussions. So I think all the groundwork that has been done before and discussions will serve in the future. Now, first, I cannot tell you exactly what AARP has in mind, right? And this is something we try to do through this conversation. I have some ideas, you know, I think it was interesting to mention how AARP is investing in tech companies. For what reason, etc., is something we can discuss here. I know they are, right? Like Senior Planet is basically training older adults and creating a community of older adults around training around technology. And maybe there is a similarity where basically AARP wants to support that there are communities that are not training older adults in technology, but that are all training older adults in aging in place. I mean, there is a parallel to be drawn there. Is it what they want to do? I don't know. Is something similar they have done in the past? I think so. Are they active in age-friendly cities, etc.? Do they have an interest to be on the picture with, you know, the governors of Florida, New York, California? I'm sure they do. Is there a similarity in the work that they're doing in the age-friendly cities, and the fact that basically villages are age-friendly cities in action? I think they are. So we are in the same space. Now, I've been very clear here saying that first, I don't speak for AARP and I don't know exactly what they want. So I think everyone here in this room can go back home having their own ideas of what is AARP trying to achieve. What I know is that they are investing in us already. And I'm not saying they're giving us money, but basically they're investing resources. We have many meetings with their employees. And the question you're asking, maybe I first, as I said, I don't have the answer, and I think this is also something that is up for discussion in this meeting, where someone can maybe explain us a different view. I explained mine, right? What would be their motivation? Maybe someone else has a different idea, and I'm happy to hear it. I cannot give a better answer than that.
Manuel, in one of your slides, you mentioned that the AARP is an advocacy group, and the villages need to be an advocacy group as well. We need to advocate for ourselves. I don't think we are as well known as we should be. And I think spreading the word is all of our jobs. One of the things that I think has been very, very helpful for the movement is the formation of regional organizations, either state or in the case of DC, the district and WAVE has been very helpful. And I think these groups can help support each other and also become better known in their area. And I think the more we do that, the better off we are. One of the things that's occurring, and Carol Paquette has been, and Mary Jane Atwater have been very instrumental in this, is getting the villages in Virginia to lobby the state to get in the state plan so that people know who we are and what we do at a local level. So I think the process of advocating both at the state level and at the regional level, I think is something we all need to be more involved in. And in terms of using technology, I think one of the things that your company does is a great job at supporting villages and some of the back office work that's important for linking the things that members want done with the volunteers that are actually going to do the work. That I think is a tremendous technology. And I think villages could do a better job reaching out to family members of their own villagers, the people who may live 2 states away, but again, get linked up by the technology that's available. So I think there are a number of things where technology can be useful, and we ought to explore some of those things, not only to improve the number of villages, but to improve the linkages among ourselves and with our families and with the folks that serve our villagers.
Mm-hmm. Would agree. Barbara Shearer from Florida.
Yes.
Next.
Well, I think for the previous point about how seems that AARP isn't as aware of villages as they might be. I think sometimes it takes almost another party, almost an outsider or someone who says something, and then that's how the attention is gotten. Because I think, it just takes somebody to break in to the discussion. I don't know, I'm not saying this very well, but I don't know if you've ever been in a meeting and you made a suggestion and nobody said anything, and then 10 minutes later somebody said the same thing. It was a great idea. And I think that's happened. I think maybe in a way AARP takes us for granted. And then when someone comes in and says something, oh, hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's anything that the Village to Village Network hasn't done in terms of advocating with the AARP.
Yeah.
The thing is, I really love what you said about something tangible. I've always thought of livable communities as just kind of a nice thing. Kind of good housekeeping, seal of approval, but it didn't really mean all that much to my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the AARP could really do something tangible. Like if you have a livable community, each livable community will have at least one village.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that really captured my attention when you said that, Manuel.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an important point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that, Barbara, and we need to work collectively on that wording. I think there is something there that is really interesting, right? Because you can have planners, and we need planners, right? But we also need doers, right? And maybe the villagers are the doers, because all the great things that are being actually done on the ground are done by villages. So maybe we can build that bridge with AARP, saying, well, it's great that we're planning, but then boom, just going from connecting with villages that are the doers out there to do that, and we need to find the right wording for it. In terms of awareness, right, is interesting. First, the word village is a little complicated because it's used in other concepts, right? Like, well, in Florida, the villages, right, which is an apartment complex with whatever. There is 20,000 residential complexes here in San Diego that are called village something, right? So the word is a little hard. But I think one thing we can do to help our awareness is just realize how important it is what we're doing, right? When I started teaching my class at USC, right, they brought me in because the class I'm teaching used to be aging in place, right? But it was actually equipping the house. You need grab bars, you need ramps, right? You need a no-step shower and stuff like that. USC realized, like, okay, you can have a perfectly equipped house, but if you want really to age in your own home, it's not enough to have the home. You also need the community around it. And when USC was saying that, the year before I got there, right, they were saying, okay, well, and then if you want to have community, there are a few things that exist. They mentioned two things in the class that I didn't write, right? So before me, one was villages, right? Second one was NORCs, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's naturally occurring residential something, but it's just older adults that get together, but it's not intentional. It just suddenly happened. You see what I'm saying? But villages were the only intentional organized movement to do aging in community. So once we know that, right, it's like, God, the village movement is something great. It's something that USC thought should be taught at the graduate level on the gerontology school as the biggest and most well-known aging in community initiative. You see what I'm saying? So now that we know that we are doing really something unique and special, we can also go talk to AARP and be really proud about, oh, you don't know about this? Well, that's weird because we're doing something awesome. And, kind of it's on you that you don't know about it because this is really important. See what I'm saying? So, but I fully agree with you. I think that's a great point, Barbara. And then we have another person coming in. So we have Skip. If you can unmute and share with us your opinion.
Hi, Manuel. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, a couple things. One is the way that we form sort of as a byproduct of being in a master community, St. James down here in Brunswick County, and we're actively working with our county senior resources groups, and they're in the process of beginning to form additional villages under their umbrella. And one thing that seems to me to be sort of a logical, tactical, tangible thing that could be done, especially since AARP has identified you as one of the 23 technology companies that they're basically betting on bringing into the fold. It seems to me as these new villages are formed, one of the issues they have to grapple with is what are they going to use for technology? Mm-hmm. So if AARP could basically say, look, as a new village, here's the software that we would encourage you to at least look at, and if it's something that you find would be helpful to your village, we will subsidize that for the first year, 2 years of your growth, so that you take that funding need off the table. Mm-hmm. And basically remove one of the barriers. So mm-hmm. it seems to me kind of a logical outgrowth of their relationship. It shows they got some skin in the game monetarily, and it truly would help mm-hmm. These villages at the earliest stages. Just a thought.
Yeah. I love that thought. I think it's great. I think one of the things that can be presented to AARP is, accelerate the growth of new villages, right? If it takes a lot of effort and money to get one started, is hard. And I think definitely having technology early on helps village founders figure out what needs to be done, how to start collecting, mailing lists of people, how to start sending emails out, how to start doing a calendar of events. Maybe it's not fully fledged village operations yet, right? Because all of that needs preparing and insurance and stuff like that. But at least even just setting up a website, right, with the village description, what's the mission, what are we trying to accomplish, etc., goes a long way for the founding team, you know, to figure out how to get started. So I definitely take good note of your point. I think is very interesting.
Well, one of the things is also obvious, and you know this, but with Helpful Village, it also brings with a set of implied processes in terms of, you know, entering service requests, meeting them, reporting, evaluations, all those things that new villages have to wrestle with. It almost brings in a bit of a predefined organization too, you know, with and so to me that could be very tangible, something could be done readily, and something that would be consistent with the relationship that Helpful Village and AARP are developing.
Yeah, okay, great. I take the point. Thank you, Skip. And then we have Barbara. You raised your hand too, so you want to come next?
I did. I'm very conscious of everybody's time, and I wanted to just say one, Manuel, we can't thank you enough for the overview you provided. I've had several people ask if you can share your slides. They would love to have them, and we'd be happy to send them out as part of, you know, we do have your slides from the virtual presentation, but we'd be happy to share these in addition. And also just to reiterate the fact that V2V has been collectively, and we've had several presidents over the last 5 years that I've been the executive director, working directly with the AARP national office. And I have to say, you know, as Carol said, it's an ongoing process. I mean, even last year, I mean, AARP has so many levels and so many layers at the national level. Last year, the public policy put out a video of villages on villages, and none of the villages were interviewed. So they know about the villages. But the nice thing is it's a door that's open, and we continue to open that door a little bit wider. And if it takes 5 years, that's fine. But I think we've got their attention. And I appreciate that your software is getting recognized as an age tech leader. And so I think we're all thrilled that that's happened. I know that, Anna, you have one closing thought, because we're having folks saying goodbye to me. So I don't want to take much more time of everyone. So Anna, do you want to say anything? Anna? Oh.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm located in Providence, Rhode Island. I work for the Village Common of Rhode Island, and we were talking about survey, right? I'm going to share my experience. I'm the bilingual outreach coordinator, and I'm focused on build a Spanish-speaking village. And we, with my coworker, create a survey, and the survey, it's a very simple, very clear questions, like option answers, yes, no, nothing complicated, and it is a very good outcome. Like people felt like we do care about them, in order of knowing a little more if they live by themselves, if they don't live by themselves, who they live with, what do they do in their spare time, what do they like to do as a hobby, and things like that. And it's really, really useful in order to start a village. And then every new people they come to the middle, we give them a survey to complete. And then also it helps us, because we were talking also about data collection, it helps us a lot to start a data collection with the characteristic of each member, and that helps in order to provide them services. So in order to do like an outreach for a specific service, let's say we were talking about the Papa company, companion, and also we were talking about volunteer, and like surveys are really, really, really helpful. But I think, in my opinion, in my coworker opinion, to do a survey with very, very specific questions and very simple grammar, like not too complicated, and do like a situation. If I were here and you come over here, what are you going to say? No, simple questions and questions, simple but important questions that really, really matters in the life of everyone.
Mhm.
That's my comment. I just wanted to share with you, and thank you for the webinar. It is very helpful.
Say gracias, Analia. Allows me to say a word in Spanish, which is good. But that was a great point. So maybe I know we need to close the session, but even if we're closing the session, we're not closing the conversation, because this is you know, an open topic that we will have for several weeks and months, etc. Most of the people in the room already know me, and you already have my email address. There are many questions and many things we need to figure out. So there will be multiple other opportunities to keep this conversation open, and to make sure, you know, all I want to do is make sure that I answer all questions, and that we're all on board with what we're doing. The AARP program is designed to be pretty intensive, actually. So, you know, I guess it's their business people testing us. So they meet with us. I need to do weekly reporting sessions saying what did I learn, or what information did I collect each week, etc. So for the next few weeks, it's going to be pretty intense. I don't know exactly how to do this, but I have several ideas about maybe you know, contacting villages about some of these questions. Like you said, Analia, like a survey. It can be to village members, and then if you want to help get that information, or also even a survey of village founders, right? Or the villages that are starting, or the villages that are leaders, right, on the board of those villages. Maybe we should do a survey that helped us better understand, okay, how did the start of your village in your community happen? What was your personal motivation? There's great village leaders here, right? And then basically, if we can kind of document or gather some data about that, maybe through a survey, is a good way to basically start drawing a more precise picture for AARP, and then build that relationship over time, you know, step by step. So I don't know. This is ideas. If you differ with anything that I say, that's perfectly fine, because we're trying to explore this opportunity, and I look forward to keeping this conversation open, and you know, and learning more from you all. Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and then, you know, let's keep talking.
Analia, if you can, please share your survey or send it to Barbara so that a couple of us can get our hands on it. We'd love to see it, because we're in Latino Spanish-speaking communities.
Yes, I will. I wrote your email address. I don't know the other one person.
I just did it, Analia. So it's in the chat, but I can send you an email also. But as Eddie said, we're always interested. We have several villages that are like expanding. Rhode Island is a very good example, and I do know of your great work. We're doing our vaccine initiative up there, and our promotional marketing materials, as you saw, are both in English and Spanish. And so we're really working diligently toward that. Thank you again,
Yes,
Manuel, and
I will
everybody.
definitely. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
terrific. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Have a good
Welcome.
rest of your day and week.
Gracias.
Thank you, everybody.
Gracias, Manuel. Cuídate.
Gracias. Adiós.